The project discussions capability within Kumu, in conjunction with the members aspect, really makes it a strong environment for supporting collaborative model development. So, as I had indicated here, I had this previous diagram about the architecture of the environment. For a project, I had added members and discussions. A discussion, anyone with a Kumu account can go ahead and start a discussion, well, for a public project, can start a discussion. They can edit their own posts, they can follow a discussion, they can post results in following a discussion, they can mute a discussion, and they can reference specific users using an @ so that, because if a person is a member of a project, anytime there's a new discussion initiated, they will get a copy, an email for that discussion. If they choose to explicitly follow the discussion, then any subsequent post to that discussion they'll receive a copy of. Now, they can explicitly follow the discussion either by going to the discussion and clicking to say I want to follow this discussion, or if they post to it, they will end up following it because of their actions. If you create a post for a discussion and you want somebody to receive a copy of that post, if you use an @ sign and their username, Kumu will route a copy of that post to them, whether they're following it or not. So in this particular project, which had to do with several individuals, 2 contributors and several managers who were developing a set of relationships with regard to the economy, there were a couple of discussions, one of them on the economy and one of them on the scope and purpose of the project, so that the individuals involved, as they made changes to the map, provided comments to each other about what it was that they were changing and why, and we did a lot of posts about additional articles that we found that we thought were relevant for other members of the project to pursue. So while this was a public project, so anybody could see it, there were 4 people intently engaged in developing the set of relationships. So if you look at one of those discussions, you look at this discussion, you notice over here there are 4 people who are following this discussion, and this says mute this discussion because this is me and I am following it. If I click this, then it says it changes to follow this discussion. So at the moment, if someone else made an additional post in here, I wouldn't receive a copy of it unless they did an @stw, which is my username. Though I could come back here and click this and tell it that I want to explicitly follow this discussion, and now anytime there's a post to it, I'll get another copy. So that when you scroll to the bottom, you can add another comment and click on comment, or you can add a comment and close the discussion itself, which means it then goes to the archive, and there are no archived discussions for this project at the moment. So the other thing that's kind of neat is, for this particular project that we were working on, as the comments came in, this was actually set up so that the comments ended up in a light box. If you look at this, we go to the top here, so that this is the URL for the comments itself. It's simply the URL for this project, slash discussions slash 1, and then I put it in a lightbox equals full and told it to start with comment 65. So when I click here, it doesn't take me to the beginning, it takes me to the 65th comment, because all of the comments before this point were actually summarized into this element within the project, so that people, rather than having to read the first 65 posts, they could read the summary of the posts and then add additional comments. And the idea was that rather than for it to continue to be summarized, and so, but this was another one of those trial and learning environments where we were attempting to see whether it made sense to do something, and it turned out that we sort of figured out how to go about doing it and then sort of drifted off into other things. But there are a whole bunch of observers on this project, a couple of contributors, and a couple of managers for the project. And just the idea of being able to have the where is it? Have the comments open in the lightbox as opposed to opening in some other window someplace makes it much easier to go ahead and post those comments and then click and go back to the environment that you're in, so you never actually lose the context. The other alternative is to do a right click and open this in a brand new tab or a brand new window and put it somewhere else so you can actually enter comments while you're looking. It's part of the reason why working on multiple screens is so marvelous. Though the thing that one needs to get sorted out is how the group collectively keeps track of what they're doing so they don't destroy each other in the process, so that while all of the people who are identified as contributors or managers are in a position to make changes to the environment, you want to set up a convention amongst the participants so that they leave comments or leave breadcrumbs for other people to follow, so that they know what's changed. Because once you end up in a map with a substantial number of elements in it, knowing from the time that you were there 2 days ago until you end up there now, presently there isn't an easy way to know what was changed. So it's good to set up a convention so that those people who change things leave notes for other people so that they can keep up with the changes that are happening. In the predicament, I talked about the fact that the participants are apt to be geographically distributed and very busy, so that they end up being able to contribute only on in an asynchronous fashion, so that maybe I get 15 minutes today and another 20 minutes 2 days from now to actually engage with the model and look at the extent to which it's developed and add my thoughts about how it should continue to evolve. So that's why, in terms of being able to put substantial comments on the element or on the connections, if appropriate, in conjunction with discussions, and you can have as many discussions as needs be, and label them appropriately and tie them back into the project wherever it's appropriate, so that I could have a discussion for every one of these elements and actually have the discussion tied into the element itself. If you look at what was done for the Enabling a Better Tomorrow model, there was a discussion for every one of the learning threads that were part of this model. So right here are all of the discussions, so that if you wanted to look at the discussion for the first learning thread or the discussion for the seventh learning thread. And in addition to the discussion being accessible there, if you went to that particular part of the model and went to the summary, the discussion was also accessible from the summary element of the learning thread. So it just, to be able to go ahead and put things in places where it makes it easy for people to leave, as I said, breadcrumbs for other members that are contributing to the project. It's an aspect of Kuma that I think is absolutely marvelous in terms of something that supports the collaborative model development in a very asynchronous fashion. So hope you found this informative, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.